What's up, viewers, subscribers, and agents alike? It's your boy Enlightened Luciferian Prince coming at y'all once again. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for viewing my content. Thank you for viewing my channel. And pretty much thank y'all for being a supportive audience. Let me go ahead and turn down this echo just a tad, I like a little bit of it because it's on my end. I hear it a little bit differently than you may. But let me just say this: if you're watching this video around children, please remove them from your immediate vicinity, as my videos are not for children. Simply put, it's adult-based content. Simple as that. And also to mention, this does not constitute legal advice, nor does it constitute anything anti-government. The sole purpose is for informational and educational purposes only. Now that we got that out the way, let's cook. Now, what I want to talk about, and since I've been on this subject for quite some time, and I've been on it for some years, I want people to understand that, let's get one thing straight on my channel. I think I've gotten it straight, but this is just for new people who have just recently viewed my content over the course of the last few months, whether it's the last few years, whatever. Let's clarify one thing straight and two things for certain. Everything that I talk about on this channel in regards to the law is about the law. I want you to understand the law, as I basically quote it, is for an imperfect system. Okay? When I refer to the law, you have to realize the law wrote laws against its own self. This does not affect the population of people, i.e. society, because these laws were not made for us. They were made for the orchestration of a corporation, i.e. United States, to run in its due course of commercial affairs. Now, the reason why we, as a society of people, are in this trouble, or in these situations that we're in, and we're seeking remedies from channel to channel or platform to platform, is because we are unawares of how these laws work, or we have very little knowledge as to what laws work or what laws apply to our certain circumstances. So let's get this straight. This is for general and informational purposes, for the laws that you don't know about that will adversely affect you because you don't know. Me, myself, the reason why I put content to this degree on my channel is because, yesteryear, I was once a victim of the abuse of the commercial court system. You know, we all believed at one point in time that, yes, they're correct, they're straight, they administer justice and so forth. No, people. The more you learn about these laws and how they tie into consumer laws and how they tie into the financial laws and how they all merge together to make up this conglomeration of commerce, do you understand that it wasn't really about that from the jump? See, the justice and equity and all of that nice stuff, that was just put on the surface to just mislead a lot of people into believing one thing works one way when in reality it works totally different. What we once thought was an actually perfect system for the equality and justice to bring all the bad guys to bad women to justice really turned into nothing more than a RICO, to be honest with you. And their laws, as written in their laws, even attest to this even taking place. I am so serious. Over the years of the thousands of pages of information that I have read ad nauseum, and even seeing how interagency communications to consumers, not to the corporations, but to the consumers, we're basically telling them, like, so who is the entity that is actually committing these acts? In one of their publications that they have, I think I even made a video about it before, in the form 3949A, it said governmental entity. So if these individuals, i.e. the IRS, is actually asking you, the person who's making a claim against them, who is it, and they leave that as an option for you to check, what does that tell you? Now, I'm just drawing inferences and putting lines forward to where they need to go, i.e. connecting the dots. So just think about that for a second. If they're asking you who is the actor that is perpetuating this fraud, and they leave that as an option, that should tell you something. But the rabbit hole goes deeper, okay? Now, going back to the commercially fraudulent system, I want people to also understand on my channel, I do not school scoundrels, okay? I do not school scoundrels. If indeed you have committed a wrong in society, if you have harmed a person, if you have harmed someone's property, if you have done anything against the natural law of life, I am sorry, my channel is not a harbor for you. Am I being a judge of man? No. I'm making righteous judgments because that's the reason why the system should exist, to take care of people who do acts such as that. You know, people who fraud, who break into people's houses, who steal, who do all sorts of other atrocious things that I will not say for simple reasons, but we already know the depth that certain criminality can exist. That don't exist on my channel. It don't exist in my personal life, and I don't entertain it, period. So before anybody gets misconstrued that I help people that have, no, fuck that. I'm going to say it out of my own mouth. You know what I'm saying? No, I do not give harbor to fugitives. So this is for people who, in light of the scope of my conversation in which I have on my channel, and I said it years ago, if you're guilty and you did it, you got to wear that one. But if you didn't, and it's a victimless crime, and you know for sure that it's a victimless crime, this is how I'm going to cook. And what we're going to talk about is, quote unquote, the workings of the United States Code in the court system. Hold on one second, put my password in. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about fraud and activity in connection with identification documents, authentication features, and information, which the title of this video will be United States Code, Title 18, subsection 1028. Now, going back to what I was saying about the court system, and this is reality. It's commerce, people. And the way it's set up, and the way that it operates, is because it only operates based upon the ignorance of the masses of people. Irrespective of race, color, creed, origin, nationality, doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, the color that is only recognized in the legal system is green. Period. That's it. Green in digits. That's it. So in reality to this, the way that it's set up is the fact that from the time of a person's incarceration, all that innocent until proven guilty, to be honest with you, sounds good on Law and Order. Sounds good on Law and Order. Now, if you watch Law and Order, as dramatized as it is, even though it's based on real stories, as dramatized as it is, you know, they always have this this notion to be heavily presumptuous. Although most times, if you really watch Law and Order, you know, most of the time they'd be wrong, but then sometimes they'd be spot on. But in reality, the legal system don't work that way. Okay? When they say you want a lawyer and all that stuff, all that shit on TV, you don't get no fucking lawyer. The only time you're going to get a lawyer and they're going to appoint one to you is when your ass go inside of that motherfucking courtroom and they put you in front of that judge, i.e. banker, and basically they're going to determine an amount. But let me tell you why it's not even about what the claim is that's against you. Because I will say this for people who really don't know about that legal system. If they're saying you are innocent until proven guilty, then why are you booked in to book in? And why are you getting your prints taken? You haven't even had what is called a probable cause hearing. So you're already charged with something. Your picture's taken and everything. I'll share this story with you just to paint a picture with you. This happened in my personal life. And it happened to me in the city of Atlanta. I was arrested for, what was it? They called it disorderly conduct, but it was really a fight. You know what I'm saying? It was some simple shit. Some, you know, younger days, early 20s, some dumb shit. And particularly, I had all rights to defend myself for the case being whatever. Now, anybody who lives in the city of Atlanta, you already know that that's some thuggish, ruggish police. But at the same token, you know, I was like, man, I'm not fingerprinting. I'm not booking into none of that shit. And this is me in my young, reckless, relentless days. And I'm just being honest. This is me. This is what I used to do. Like, I used to be that way. And, you know, I think it was, what was it? The sergeant or whatever came in there. Was like, oh, you gonna do what we tell you. And I kept it real and I kept it 1,000. And at the time, you know what I'm saying? You know, when you arrested and you incarcerated, because, yeah, I was out, you know, I was intoxicated. I'm sorry. When you incarcerated and intoxicated at the same time, that shit don't go together. And a person like myself, when I get pushed to that point, then I'm going to take it there. So they was like, well, you know, you got to book in, whoop, whoop, and so forth. I said, man, I'll tell you right now, we're going to tear this bitch up. You know what I'm saying? I'm just keeping it real with you. I'm like, I'm not fingerprinting nothing. No, sir, no, ma'am. And then, they kept insisting and everything. I said, just do me one favor. Make sure you keep these body cams rolling. Because if I catch some more charges, I'm letting you know right now, everybody going to get it. You know what I'm saying? Everybody going to motherfucking get it. So, you always got the officers that come in there and try to be a little bit more brolic, and you going to do this. And I'm like, listen, we don't have to talk. I already gave you the ground rules. Let's get it on. Long story short, I guess it was divine intervention, I should say. You know what I'm saying? 2020 hindsight. Them people really ain't even push that shit. Like, it was crazy because they didn't even push it. Next thing you know, I see my property bag coming to the front. And, you know what I'm saying? They like, you know what I'm saying? I had to sign a little piece of paper. I ain't had to come to court or nothing. I don't even know what the fuck it was. But, nah, I wasn't going for it. But at the same token, had I had went through it, like previous times before in my personal life, then, yeah, they would have brought me into, first appearance and all that. And I'm going to tell y'all this right now. When you go to first appearance, 2020 hindsight, I'm going to share this insight with y'all. When you go to first appearance and they appoint you a lawyer, forget about it. Your fate has already been determined. Because once you actually sign certain documentations that you weren't aware of, when you sign that stuff, you basically commit yourself to jail. That's why they do the booking process first. You see what I'm saying? So you already committed. They don't even tell you this stuff, but it's true. You already in their system. You know what I'm saying? Once they put that wristband on you, oh, you fucked. You are now considered property. You know what I'm saying? They have gained custody over you. That's the real reason why they book you in. And if you notice, in accounting, asking the accountant, asking what the books are. You know what I'm saying? Don't take my word for it. Just ask an accountant if you know one in your personal circle. Long story short, they already know what they're going to do with you. So here's the fraud and the related activity in connection with identification documents. So they book you underneath the strawman entity. They already got you there. Boom. You know what I'm saying? They got you under presumption of law. You're a corporation now. So now you go from a living being to a number, which in and of itself is fraud, because in connection with identifying documents, I can't identify myself as a number. So this documentation that's on the books isn't even me. Or if it's a female, even the female, it isn't even the male, it's not the male. Ad infinitum. So at the same token, now it says authentication features and information. That means everything that's attributed to that strawman entity that's attached to that number is not you anymore. It is now about to be monetized. So when you go for first appearance, what the lawyers do that are appointed to many people is what they do is they make you accept that fraud through an adhesion contract. They'll tell you, oh, well, look, here, sign this and we're going to get you out of here. 2020 hindsight, looking back in the past, they basically said, we would like you to waive your hearing. I never said what hearing it was, but I later on down the line, I learned what it was. And that was actually your probable cause hearing. So they make you waive your probable cause hearing. And this is what comes next. Once you waive that, now we don't have probable cause. We don't have to do this no more. Because what I learned is the moment that they have a probable cause hearing, the arresting officer has to literally testify to what probable cause he or she had. And unfortunately, so many thousands of men and women are in jail for this simple fact right now because they didn't know. They just thought this was the way that the system worked. It's bullshit, people. You are incarcerated under fraudulent means, because not only are you being charged presumptuously, you actually being held against your will. So now they set a bond amount. The judge issues a performance bond, a bid bond, and a payment bond all at the same time. Don't take my word for it. Do your research. Okay? And now you have to pay for your freedom. But here's how the fraud even persists. Okay? If you go to Title 12 United States Code 5481, that's Title 12 United States Code 5481. It talks about definition of products and services. Okay? Now, you have to go read through the definitions to understand what I'm saying. See, the magistrate court or whoever took you into custody or the sheriff's department are not FDIC insured. Okay? Anytime you go to any sheriff department in the United States of America Corporation and look at the front window of what's emblazoned, there's no FDIC logo on there. So how could a sheriff's department accept cash payments and not be FDIC insured? Because in the law, it says in Title 12, United States Code 5481, it says the definition of products and services. Here's the kicker. cash bonds must comply with financial regulation services, which means it's a financial transaction. So if you're not FDIC insured, why are people taking fiat to a sheriff's department? Not only that, your bond is already covered because once they issued the performance bond and the bid bond, that was already taken care of. So whether you pay money or not, they already secured it because they have you now under false and misleading representation as surety. So now you're considered surety. You're considered, oh, we got you, but you want to be free. So now we're going to hold you as if you're guilty. Here's the thing. The burden of proof should not be for you to pay for your freedom at a later time to prove your innocence. Do you understand how backwards that is? So again, they issue you a bond for about $100K, and then somebody has to come up with the 10%. So they give $10,000 to a non-FDIC, affiliated corporation, i.e. the sheriff's department, to secure your release, even though your release was already secured when the bondsman came up and put that paper through that fucking front-ass window. It gets deeper than that, y'all. I'm telling you. Now, not to mention, you have to also understand, this disqualifies a judge also under Title V, United States Code, Section 8347, Administrative Regulations. The judge is not an administrator. If he's a judge and it doesn't say administrator on his or her podium, then they're an administrator. An administration only has to deal with the Office of Personnel Management in Washington, D.C., not in a magistrate court or some type of other robot kangaroo court that they have in the United States. No, that is strictly for government personnel, not for a quote-unquote judiciary officer. So no, that disqualifies them for them even acting in a fiduciary capacity before the even determination of a case being closed. Real talk. Not to mention, if you go to, as I said before, 28 United States Code 455, disqualification, trying to speak too fast. Disqualification of a justice, judge, or magistrate judge. Look it up. It says any justice, judge, or magistrate judge in the United States shall disqualify himself in any proceeding which his impartiality might be reasonably questioned. But if you really go down to Section 4, it says he knows that he individually or as a fiduciary. Okay? So once you make this known to a judge in a respective capacity that you have a fiduciary interest in the outcome of this case, they can sit there and lie and say it all they want. Because once they actually acted as an administrator to set an amount to a case to secure your release, that's fiduciary interest, period. Can't get around that. You know what I'm saying? You cannot get around that. Not to mention, you also must understand another key element as far as, like I said, Title 12, United States Code 5481. You must understand that these are definitions. Again, cash bonds must comply with financial regulation services. So if they are not a financial institution, what would disqualify them? What would disqualify them is the simple fact of the matter is that they cannot act in an administrative capacity while sitting as a judge. Okay? The strongest remedy that you can use at the time of your appearance, you must rebut all statements and affidavits against you, because it all goes back to fraud and related activity in connection with documents, authentication features, and information, which is why I did a video on specific negative averment. You must specifically deny that corporation's existence in affidavit form. If you have a loved one that is incarcerated underneath the guise of presumption of law, and they are being held, and they have a victimless crime, let's emphasize victimless, you need to fill this affidavit out and mail that shit to the court and get it on record. That rebuts all presumptions. Anyone doubt what I'm saying, specific negative averment goes according to the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure 9A. What does it say? Specific negative averment is the capacity in which one contends, the capacity in which he is to be sued or to sue. So in other words, what am I saying? All charges and all claims brought up against you is a suit. It's a civil suit. All lawsuits start with what? A claim. which is basically what the criminal system calls an accusation. It's still the same thing. Someone saying you did something. Someone saying this happened. That's the same thing that officers do when they write out those statements and affidavits. They're building the claim against you. It's a suit. Once you file this affidavit into the record of the case, all presumptions of law are broken because absent a rebuttal to the corporation's existence, right? Which, of course, we're going to break it down in the simplest terms so this don't confuse anybody. If indeed they proceed against an entity, i.e. a fiction, they have to prove in 10 days that it exists. If it doesn't exist and no rebuttal is given, which of course we already know in the natural world, you can't make something appear that doesn't exist. What do they do with the case? They must dismiss, because you cannot proceed against an entity that doesn't exist. They switch the roles with you to make you believe that it's you. And that many people who've been on this road and know this path should already know this. That's why they say, are you such and such? Or they say, state your name. This is the offer of contract. We don't contract with fraudulent activity, people. When you are in the right, when you have a victimless crime. Now, if you have a victim crime in it, and that person come to court, hey, that's on you. We already got that out the way. But a victimless crime, they can't proceed against because there's no jurisdiction. See, you have to understand the difference between a natural person and a juristic person. I know a lot of people come on channels and stuff and platforms, and they talk about, well, we can challenge jurisdiction. Let your paperwork speak for itself. Simple as that. You cannot argue a case in the capacity of a portended debtor who wishes to extricate him or herself out of a matter because you're now speaking in position of something that doesn't exist. So what you're supposed to do is say, I submitted in good faith on behalf of portended said entity into the court record as to who I am and to who I am not. Now it's an open court. So can't nobody go to running and try to act like they don't know what you're talking about. You have that affidavit, you have that statement, that's all you got to stand by. Simply put, I am not a corporation, period. So then you rebut all presumptions of law at you. The judge has to recuse himself because particularly he ain't going to proceed anymore because he has no jurisdiction over you, the natural person. See, he got to argue with that fiction, which don't exist. And you learned that in less than 23 minutes. That is the facts, people. That is the facts. You must understand fraud and related activity. It starts with fraud from the jump because they're letting you know in 18 United States Code 1028, fraud from the jump, off the bat. It's fraud from the inception of it in connection with identification documents, authentication features, and information. Do what you will with that information, people, but primarily keep yourself out of their system. I tell people the more you learn about this, the more you need to stay away from that stuff. Stay away from that system, man. I implore you to do so. Now, if you want to be one of them hard-headed individuals that's giving themselves a bad name and try to go on YouTube and start recording police and going to police stations and all that, trying to get a rise out of them, go right the fuck ahead. You are wasting your time. And all you're going to do at the end of the day, you're going to upset the hornet's nest and they're going to throw your ass in jail. And they're going to make money off you. Come on now, people. Wisen up. Be as wise as serpents, but as innocent as doves, people. Simple as that. Now, if indeed you one of them people, because I know people who work for the law enforcement system and the legal system watch my channel. I know realtors watch my channel. I know all sorts of people watch my content. But here's the thing. I use what is referenced to as the law. I don't speak this stuff out of my own conjecture. I reference the law. I read it as it says, and I put no twist to it. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, that's irreversible, uncontrovertible truth. You can't argue with that. Raw and uncut. So with all due respect, people, you have to understand. You have to stand in your capacity and know where you stand in regards to how these people move towards you. Because if you're not wise and knowledgeable enough to overcome your adversary going to win all the time. Or they're going to give you one of them lame-ass motherfucking bad-dressed public defenders to throw you in there because you can't afford a another attorney who's going to throw you in there, just better dressed, better manicured, better groomed, just to throw you in there too. So in reality, people, you are your own savior when it comes to this commercial beast. But you're not alone when you have the knowledge. You're alone when you don't know. That's when you're just going to be at the whim of whatever's trying to get you out, and not really trying to get you out, it's trying to keep you in. You know what I'm saying? I'm just telling you, they're going to transfer that principal obligation one way or another if you're not aware of what the principal obligation is. I suggest you look that up. The principal obligation. Bouvier's Law Dictionary, 1865 edition. Look it up. Principal obligation. Don't take my word for it. Go look it up. That is what the government is trying to extend to you. A liability, which in reality is its own. It's just doing it under what? Fraud and activity with connection and identification documents, authentication features, and information. There we go, people. Enjoy. Do with it what you will. But remember, this does not constitute legal advice. Thank you for viewing my content. Thank you for your time. I'll leave my contact information in the video description and the comment section below. But again, I'm just a man who loves to read. Simple as that. You want to consult with me on a private basis? That's A-OK with me. Until then, we'll take it from there. See you soon. Peace, light, love. Y'all take care. Agents, fuck you. See y'all soon.